Hi there, welcome once again to the Light of Light. My name is Joseph Bimbo Akinjoku. In the last episode, I spoke about how you can come into the knowledge of the will and the purpose of God for your life. And I said that there are three main ways according to scriptures. The first is through a direct revelation from God. The second is that God can lead men and use them to bring you into the purpose that He has created you to serve. And the third is that God can place a strong impression in your heart so that you know and you are deeply convinced within your heart that this is the path that God wants you to walk in. Today, we are looking at the next step. And the next step after you have discovered the purpose of God for your life is conceptualization. To conceptualize the vision of God for your life is you being able to form concepts and ideas that are centered on the vision that God has shown you on how you are to live your life. Whether it is through revelation, through one leading you, or through a strong impression in your heart. You need to be able to turn the vision that God has given unto you into a mission, a life goal, something that you will be pursuing with your life, so that if anyone happens to ask you what you are living for, you can state in clear terms what you are doing. This is very important because it is what will enable people to associate themselves with you in the pursuit of that will of God for your life, because there is nothing that God has called you to do that you can do alone. Therefore, the ability to properly understand what God wants you to do and communicate it effectively unto others is also extremely important. For this to happen, there are three things that you would need to do. The first is that you need to separate yourself from all forms of distractions and noise and come into a place where you are able to properly understand what God wants you to do. Apostle Paul tells us in Galatians chapter 1 from verse 15 that after he understood what God wanted him to do, after he got a revelation regarding the path that God wants his life to be all about, he did not confer with flesh and blood, but he separated himself and went on to Arabia and some other places where he was able to get a proper download and clarity in his spirit regarding what God wanted him to do. Remember, there was no ministry unto the Gentiles prior to that time. God called him with a specific assignment to the Gentiles. All those who were preaching the gospel before him were preaching to the circumcision. But even though God wanted him to preach the gospel, it was through the process of separation that he got clear understanding that his life was not just about preaching the gospel, but to preach it to a specific set of people. Conceptualization through separation will help you understand in clear terms what God wants you to do, how He wants you to do it, to whom He wants you to do it, where He wants you to do it, and helps you answer many of the questions that would surround that vision that He would have given unto you. So separation, therefore, is very important so that you can avoid distractions in the course of you coming to a proper downloading or understanding of what God wants you to do. The second thing is meditation, so that as God has given you that revelation through separation, you now begin to write down those things that He wants you to do. That takes me to the next point before I come back to this one, is the purpose, or let me say the stage of documentation. Documentation is important. That's why Habakkuk says in Habakkuk chapter 2, he says, write the vision and make it plain. Let him run that reads it. He said, for the vision is for an appointed time. There is something that God wants you to do. And when you have gotten an understanding of it, you need to document it so that you can go back to it from time to time as something that is a signpost to you regarding what God has spoken to you. Because like it or not, there will be challenges that would arise in the pursuit of that which God has called you to do. If you don't have something to refer to as the voice of God that you received in the beginning, you can easily get distracted or even be derailed from the pursuit of that vision, especially when people begin to come into your life and come with different ideas on how you are to pursue it. Documentation, therefore, is important so that you can constantly go back to it and say, this is what God has called me to do, and that is what I'm going to commit myself to doing. Meditation is important because it will help you come into a place where you are able to situate those things by relating it with what is happening in your environment. Meditation will give you understanding. Psalm 49 verse 2 says, my mouth will speak wisdom, and the meditation of my heart shall be of understanding. When you receive the knowledge of what God wants you to do, you need to get proper understanding of it. When you have gotten an understanding of it, the way you express that understanding in the pursuit of that vision is what wisdom is all about. That's why the Bible says that wisdom is profitable to direct. It's when you have gotten wisdom that you are able to know the path that you are to follow. These three things are therefore important in you being able to properly conceptualize what God has called you to do. The first is separation. Proverbs 18 says that through desire, a man, having separated himself, seeks and intermeddles with all wisdom. We see a very good example of this in Apostle Paul. Meditation is important because it is when you get understanding that you can properly write those things down. And then documentation. As you have written those things down, you can always go back to them, especially when you face difficulties in the course of this journey. I hope you will ponder on this, and as you do so, my prayer is the light of God will continue to shine upon your pathway in destiny. His grace will abound towards you, causing you to always have all sufficiency in all things and abound unto every good work. Thank you very much for being part of today's episode. And until the next one, continue to flourish in His grace. God bless you.